Hello, and welcome to today's Cambria Style virtual design event. We're diving into what's next in interior design with an incredible panel of accomplished designers who are shaping the spaces and the trends we'll all be talking about in 2026. We're so glad you're here, ready to be inspired, to gather fresh ideas, and to enjoy another rich and creative design conversation. But first, a few things to note. If you want to rewatch or share this webinar, you can find the recording later today on our website at cambriausa.com/style, as well as on Cambria's YouTube channel. Also, we want to hear from you. So watch for opportunities to join the design conversation by answering a few pop-up polls along the way. And our team at Cambria, me included, is ready to answer your questions during the presentation. Simply type any questions you have in the Zoom Q&A box. All right, let's get started by first introducing today's panel. I'm Summer Kath, head of design here at Cambria, and my team is the creative force behind all new Cambria Quartz designs. And here with me today from Yates Design in Dallas, Texas, we welcome principal designer Bryan Yates. Hello, Bryan.
Hi, how are you?
So good. Happy to have you. So, Yates Design is known for timeless elegance and modern, livable luxury. They've participated in the Kip Spade Decorators Show House Dallas, launched a wall covering collection in 2023, and they continue to be featured in national and regional media, hopefully included in Cambria Style sometime soon. And a personal note about our friend Bryan, he grew up on a farm in Texas. He actually showed animals. It's the true 4-H FFA member. We love that about him. And also joining us today is Sara Malek Barney. Sara is the founder and principal designer at Band Design Interiors. She has offices in Austin, Texas, and Redondo Beach, California. So jealous. And welcome, Sara.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here.
It's going to be fun. So, Sara has also founded the Design Alliance. She was named one of Fortune magazine's most powerful women, of course, and one of Austin Monthly's Women to Watch. She's also been nominated for an International Design and Architecture Award, as well as HGTV's Designer of the Year. Now, a fun personal fact about Sara, our little Miss Lovett, who won a baby beauty contest, a pageant. No surprise there, of course. How fun is that? We're going to need to see pictures eventually here. So, welcome, panelists. We can't wait to get into our discussion about what's trending in interior design for 2026. And to kick us off, we've invited some special guests to help spark this conversation. So, first, we're going to hear from interior designer and personal friend of mine, Vern Yip. Vern has a new book, which is called Color, Pattern, Texture: The Foundation to Make Your Home Your Own. And new episodes of his TV series, Home Reimagined, you can see those on HBO Max. Now, we reached out and asked Vern about color trends. So let's see what Vern has to say.
A real embrace of the color brown, which is interesting. I think the design world has been trying to bring back brown for a long time, but the public hadn't quite caught on, and I think that they're definitely catching on now. And it's nice because brown can really lend a real sophistication to any space. I think warmer greens are actually really popping as well. Again, I see a through line here of warmer colors in general. And then I would say some of the warmer reds too, like the terracottas, the cinnabars, oxblood, anything that kind of falls into that like muddier sort of red hue, I think is also showing a lot of promise.
Well, Vern is clearly onto something. Love all those colorways. And as you can see here, Cambria collaborated with Benjamin Moore in pairing recommendations of our Cambria Quartz designs, Everly Warm, with their color of the year, Silhouette, which has that luxurious brown colorway that Vern was talking about. So, Bryan and Sara, let's hear your thoughts on what Vern said, what you're seeing and feeling in color trends in your world.
For us, we really do gravitate towards warmer hues. I think that that just is very telling that everyone wants that kind of just warmer, cozier spaces. And so that's definitely something that we're doing a ton. Anytime it's kind of natured inspired, I feel like that's always something that um, just feels cozy and right. And so we've been doing that a lot. So I 100% agree on that.
Yeah, I totally agree too. And I gotta say, I'm so excited about the resurgence of brown, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say, but I'm so
So true.
excited because it's just sort of like this warm, enveloping color, but it can be so many different things and it can play so many different ways. It's so, so, so versatile. And so I'm really excited about that color in particular. Green, we've sort of seen for a while now, but it is moving, like Vern said, a little bit warmer. And overall, you're seeing more spaces that are sort of enveloped in these tones versus just one-off splashes of them here and there. People are really embracing them, which is really exciting for me.
The color drenching, which we're starting to love to do.
Totally.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Well, speak of, because I know at Kips Bay we do a lot of color drenching. Let's take a peek at this extraordinary space, which is designed by Yates Design. It was the Kips Bay Dallas 2021. I had the pleasure of experiencing this. It was amazing. That's where you and I met, Brian. Stop me in my
Yes.
tracks. For sure, you were ahead of your time. You were using green and warm and rich, and this was 4 years ago. So, talk us through your process. How did you make these decisions, and are they still relevant today in your world?
Well, I think it always starts with a concept. And for us, having this space, we had the subterranean and had no natural light. And so our gut reaction really is how can we create a speakeasy that kind of has that play on the Prohibition speakeasies, but in a contemporary way. And for us, we're always looking for the past and those aesthetics that how can we change that up and really research that, but then also create a modern sense. And so we really wanted to have this room feel dark and inviting and really play with light. And so I remember when we first started, and we picked out the Wentworth um, stone in the back, the green, and you were like, "Are you sure you want to use this? I know that it's, I think it was like early 2000s when it came out." And so, for us, it was just something that we knew that automatically that it looked great with the Hermitage that's in the foreground of the countertop on that island, which is cantilevered. And for us, we were able to achieve that one because of the strength that Quartz and Cambria in general is able to do. And so that is a 10-foot by 5-foot island that is 100%
Unreal.
cantilevered from that center walnut base. And so for us, it was just creating stuff that was a little bit outside the box. And I think that's what's so great about Kips Bay is you really have the ability to just go for it and to do something that is 100% you and something that you haven't really, something you haven't done before, something that you're curious on doing. And then also you don't have someone that says, no, I haven't seen that, or I don't want to do that, or
Yeah.
I'm a little bit nervous on doing that. So you really get to jump and push your creativity and go outside the box just a little bit. So it was an amazing experience and huge thanks to all the support that Cambria did. Because I believe that we had, if I'm not mistaken, we had like 17 slabs in this room.
It was substantial.
So we appreciate everything.
Can
So
I just weigh in for a second? I gotta
you
say, for
must.
I must weigh in for a second. This space, I mean, it's so beautiful, and Brian might kill me for saying this, but I do actually think it's such an amazing balance between masculine and feminine, which
Thank
bars can
you.
typically read very, very masculine or kind of like cold in a sense. And
Mhm.
it's not that at all. It's soft and it's inviting in the same way that it's like hard and masculine, which is
Hmm.
very difficult to achieve. And it's very classic in its approach, and I really enjoy this space a lot.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Was that an approach to be masculine and feminine?
I always think it should be a nice balance. I don't
Hmm.
think that spaces should lean one way or another. I think it's all about approachable design and the fact of, everyone feels comfortable. It's almost a little bit, I know the trigger word, quiet luxury, but I think that it's really that sense of what luxury means to you and how you want people to feel in the space. And so for us, I kind of like that blurred line. The rug that we paired within this space is a mixture between wool and silk, and it has kind of that femininity to it that, we had cut and placed under the island, which is, again, you wouldn't think to put a beautiful rug underneath an island, but I think it's just nice balance sometimes.
It's beautiful balance, especially since there are so many slabs of stone in here.
Yeah.
There's a need to soften it up. Sarah, is that
You,
something you, oh, sorry, go ahead. I want to hear you
Well,
have
I
to
was just
come.
gonna say, fun fact, the kitchen's still there, and the new homeowners we found out had a water leak and contacted the wallpaper company that we used to replace it, and the whole kitchen's still intact and is still the way it is, which is a huge honor in that regards as well.
And they saved it
Yeah,
from water damage because this is a basement, which you had said,
yes, it is.
subterranean.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, when you're working with so much stone, I'm assuming that's a huge part of balancing out with soft surfaces as well.
Yeah, and Brian's exactly right. It's making sure the space feels approachable. I never want the spaces I design to feel that museum quality where you can't touch anything or live in it and it's not very functional. I want a space to be fun and soft and livable. And especially when it comes to designing spaces with stone, I very much like to design kitchens and not necessarily bathrooms, but these harder surface spaces to almost feel like an extension of a living space. It doesn't feel like
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
just an appliance dumping ground. It is actually an
Mm.
extension of a living room, a dining room, some other soft sitting space nearby. And it doesn't feel as industrial and much softer in its approach for sure.
And it's a space we're always in. If you think about it, even if you try not to, everyone's always gathering in the kitchen. And so I agree. You want it to feel inviting and welcoming. So
Excellent. Well, let's turn back to Vern for our next trend question. And we want to know, are drapes making a comeback?
I have definitely seen a much heartier embrace of window treatments, full on window treatments. So, you know, drapery panels that are extra wide, drapery panels that are layered now with shears, valances. We have definitely moved discernibly away from minimalist window treatments. And I'm really glad because I think at the end of the day, a room never feels complete until it has window treatments and rugs. Those are the two things that I always say. You got to have those two things before the room is really done. And I think it just sort of speaks to also a place that we're at right now where I think people are looking for comfort at home. Um, we're looking for our home to be restorative, to take care of us, to nurture us. And I think having the coziness of window treatments really gets us there because it's not just a functional aspect, meaning, you can close them for privacy or they absorb sound. I think it's also just the visual of accenting the height of a room and of seeing the softness of fabric. It just really helps to kind of create a more inviting atmosphere.
And speaking of creating a more inviting atmosphere, here we have this beautiful room, which is designed by Sarah. Why don't you take us through, what you were looking to achieve? I've looked at a lot of your work, and you love arches, which I think are beautiful. I think it's your signature. Obviously, you have some beautiful sheer drapes. So take us through, what was your vision and what you feel good about accomplishing here.
Yeah, I mean, in this space in particular, this home was a new construction home. The clients were very traditional, had a very English cottage sense of style, but that wouldn't really have worked in a new construction home. So it was very much about blending the architectural style with their taste and making sure they were happy with the overall look and feel, but it wasn't fighting against the architecture of the home. Arches are a great way to do that. It just softens a curve and just gives a little bit of architectural detail to the space. And here we've really mixed a lot of new pieces with a lot of existing or antique pieces, which gives it that layered approach. And I totally agree with Vern about I didn't realize drapes went away, but I'm excited that people are really embracing them because what I will say about them is that clients tend to forget how much they cost. And
I
and then
agree.
when we get to that point, they're like, wait, what? So now if they're thinking if they're it's more on the forefront of their mind and it's just as important to them as a piece of furniture in their home, which I deem it to be as well, then it's a
Hmm.
much easier sell. And so I'm very excited that clients are much more, they're embracing it much more. And like Vern said, layering more. And, a lot with a lot of these new construction homes, for better for worse, a lot of them are these big white boxes and they need some sound absorption as well. So that's not something to sort of be forgotten about as it relates to window treatments. They are excellent for acoustic needs.
I love the symmetry and balance of everything. It just feels nice and warm and inviting.
Thank
Beautiful.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, it looks cozy, yet it still has a formal look to it, but lived in a way. And I think that's a fun way to bring traditional meets modern. And I know
Uh,
that's something you both are doing a lot of in your work.
Yes, and I will say with this room in particular, I actually revisited the home a couple years after, and they lived there with three toddlers. And if you can believe it, it still looks very much intact with this. And this is their main living space. So they are running around with trucks and toys and whatever else on a daily basis, and it holds up beautifully. So that's important to me. It looks beautiful, but yet you can live in it
Yeah. It's all about the right materials.
for sure.
Built to last. That's why we love Cambria. And which tees us up because we have our final question for Vern. We know he's also a longtime fan of Cambria. So we asked him what's catching his eye from our current collection. So let's take a look and hear what he had to say.
I think Cambria has sort of always led the way when it comes to identifying trends and then how do we, incorporate that into our quartz countertops. And I think that Cambria has really done that beautifully. I'm particularly excited about, again, some of the new quartz options that have some of those warmer hues and warmer neutrals. And a lot of them actually incorporate brown, which I think is, again, really big, whether it's brown in the veining or brown in the background. I just think starting with the pattern of your quartz countertop in your kitchen is always such a great direction to go.
What do you guys have to say about starting with the countertop in Cambria when it comes to overall design?
Well, I think for us, our clients are always very particular and they love the fact that, Cambria is a beautiful product, but also doesn't stain. And I think that that just helps with the longevity of the material. And so that's kind of where we always start is the countertops when we're working with, our initial design palette. And I do absolutely love the fact that we're bringing in the warmer hues from everything that, I think our clients gravitate to. I'm always a huge fan of either a, white oak or a walnut or anything stained. And I think that pairing just works really lovely with all of the new product that just came out.
Yeah, and here we have a good demonstration of some of our newer, warmer Cambria designs, which are rich and grounded in aesthetic. And we're really seeing that resonate across so many projects as we're talking about here today. And also the subtle movement, where
Hmm.
we went for through a moment of higher contrast, the white and gray, but feeling that we're moving more in the modern and timeless. So would love to hear, both of you, which Cambria designs are you gravitating towards? Here we have a few of our newer, the chocolate brown, the warm, the creamy, the ivory. Tell me your favorites and why.
Well, I gotta say, Summer, you stole the words out of my mouth. I was gonna say I love the subtle movement of these newer pieces. Because for me, a lot of times we're very rarely doing high contrast veining. I think unless you're very, very careful with that application, it can look dated faster than something that's softer and quieter. So I like that a lot. I will say I did see the Remington brass in person at KBiz, and the depth and texture of it sort of blew me away. And I thought, I'm not sure I've ever seen something like this before. And I just like kind of sat there and like pet it for a while. Like it was just so exciting to see. And to see it like, applied in like a home bar or even like in a media room or something like that is like very exciting for me. So I love all these, but the quiet movement is really where I'm sold.
I agree. And the ability to really manipulate the stone with a beautiful profile or detail, I think just, also enhances just the whole aesthetics of the material. And so I love that you're able to do that with the full bleeds.
And let's talk edge profiles because I've been seeing that bullnose coming back. Where are you guys on edge profiles for your stone?
I mean, we love a stone detail. I think it's always thinking outside the box on, what we can do and not necessarily what we see as a trend. But one thing I saw recently that I thought was really pretty was almost an exaggerated bull nose. So it was basically like 3 cm material in a bull nose thickness. And I just think that there's so many interesting ways instead of just having an eased edge to a countertop that it really can just add either going very contemporary with the detail or going very traditional with the detail. I think is just a really fun way to just add an extra layer to the kitchen.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, listen, regardless of what the profile is, can we just stop doing the standard squared off, 3 cm
Yes.
profile? Like,
Yes,
can we
please.
Amen.
just do something a little bit different? And I tell clients all the time, your your kitchen's gonna look so much more expensive if we just do a little
Hmm.
bit more right here. And it's not very much, but it goes so far by way of design.
And that's such a good statement. Just by those little details, and it might not be some cases, it will be a lot more expensive, but some not. But the perception of it is luxury and it looks expensive.
I agree 100%.
Amazing. So next up, we connected with Lauren Davos, who is the Vice President of Residential Design at York Wallcoverings. If you're familiar, they're gorgeous. Because we just had to ask the question, I'm sure we're all wondering this, what is next with wallpaper as it's been so hot for a while?
So we are seeing definitely a menswear influence and really kind of inspired by both men and women's fashion. So tailored classics like plaids, pinstripes, houndstooth, patterns that really feel timeless, structured, and sophisticated. Naturals were huge in 25. They were huge last year. And we don't see that slowing down for next year. I think, designers and consumers alike are really drawn to like the sustainable organic materials, the cork, the hemp, the sisal, the bamboo. I think, it's about authenticity and the beauty of materials that feel really connected to nature. And we're seeing more raised inks and laser etching and even like inlaid designs that enhance like that natural surface. I think we're definitely seeing people using color more. There's been a departure from the neutrals, the beiges, the grays, and people are more comfortable using color. There's also this maximalist trend to layering pattern and color. We are still seeing botanical florals and leaves very much in demand. It's kind of still about bringing the outdoors in, and it kind of speaks to a sense of well-being, like calm, connected to nature. And I think that really resonates with interiors and with the end consumer.
So here we paired four of the wallpaper trends Lauren mentioned with complementary Cambria designs. And you can see how these patterns and surfaces start to play off one off of another, texture meeting texture, color meeting depth. And sidebar, speaking of wallpaper, we need to note that Yates Design has a stunning collection, which was created in collab with Ever Atelier, such a beautiful expression of artistry and, of course, materiality. So I'm going to guess you guys are believers that wallpaper is here to stay, but want your perspective, and what would you add to what Lauren shared?
I think 100% wallpaper is here to stay. We absolutely love wallpaper. I think that, she nailed it with exactly what I would say. It is an extension of who you are and capturing your personality. We're even taking it one step further here. With one client, we're doing a nice, beautiful natural grass cloth on the wall, but then bringing in an artist to paint something that is even more personal for them. So it's kind of creating a, custom paper within a standard paper, which I think is kind of fun. So we're always just trying to think outside the box, but I think that it really does create something that is individual and personal and inviting, and it adds that extra layer that I think helps to finish off a space. And I love the fact that you guys are pairing it with some of the designs that you guys have. I think that's a nice way for people just to understand how to use it.
And I know you and I had a conversation about your homes are becoming more personalized. So the
Yes.
commission artist, and there's probably several other ways that you're doing that in the homes.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, design is a luxury service. And if we can't capture who our client is as an individual and as a collective, our objective always is how can our clients, friends, and family walk into a space and automatically understand who they are as a person? I think that's what I'm most interested in when it comes to interiors. So I just love that.
Sara, I know you have words to say about wall coverings.
Of course, I always have an opinion. I mean, listen, she gave us a lot in that snippet. I will say from the menswear perspective, generally speaking, design sort of follows fashion trends. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
surprising that we're now seeing yellows and browns and menswear and sort of the things that have been very hot in fashion for the last couple of years being really hot in the design world. I personally, as a designer, we don't use a lot of the naturals. We go a little bit crazier, a little bit funkier. I say, if you're going to do the wall, let's do the wall. Like, let's go really all in. So I love the idea Bryan shared of coming in and sort of painting over and making it more personalized within the wallpaper. I think is super cool and a really great idea. But wallpaper is absolutely here to stay. And even if you tell me it's not, I'm going to keep forcing it on people, and it's going to be here to stay because I love it. I get so bored with just a painted wall. And I will say too, as it relates to this trend and paint trends in general, is we now have a full embrace of the fifth wall, the ceiling. Clients are no longer
Hmm.
scared of us running that wallpaper up onto the ceiling, or even painting all the way and color drenching the room. So that is no longer a fear, and people are really embracing that. So I'm really, really excited about where wallpaper can go and what all we can do with it. And it's many, many applications. It's sort of limitless.
I 100% agree. Even using fabric as a wallpaper too. We've done that a couple times. So you can think
Yeah.
outside the box.
Yep.
And room by room, where to wallpaper and where to paint.
Oh, you can wallpaper anywhere, but please don't do just an accent wall. Do the entire room.
Agree.
Is there a room you should not wallpaper
A
other than the
steam
garage?
a steam room. I would say don't
Steamer.
wallpaper a steam room. You could still wallpaper it if it's applied very, very well, but that goes down into the application. If that's where you're going to cut it from your steam room, from your steam shower, bathroom.
Yeah. We've even done cabinets. So you can
Mm,
wallpaper anything.
you heard it
It,
here. More
it's all in the
wallpaper.
it's all in the application. If you've got a great installer, you can put it just about anywhere.
Yeah.
You know that Saturday Night Live skit, More Cowbell? We're going to change that to
Yes.
more wallpaper.
More
I
wallpaper,
agree. Do
please.
it.
Oh my gosh, from your lips, please.
Yeah.
That's right. All right, we'll keep moving. So next we asked Robin Daniel, who's the Vice President of Marketing at Arteriors. If you're not familiar, amazing furniture, lighting, accessories. We asked her about color trends and what she's seeing in furnishings and accessories. So let's take a listen.
For us, we're really seeing verdigris variants, so a different variety of greens through all of our products, whether that be lighting or even upholstery, accessories, and beyond. We our interiors, we pretty much see green as a neutral, right? So it's like it's a color that's available in nature, and we really like to play within the spectrum of green as it exists.
You heard it here, Mother Nature's neutral. And here we have the parlor at the Kips Bay
Mhm.
Decorator Show House, Dallas, which was just this past fall, designed by Bryan's firm. I love how this space captures that elegant yet playful use of, I love saying this word, chartreuse. It's such
Yes.
a, yes, it's such a fresh interpretation. And you go, Brian, you used it. So let's start the conversation there and talk about this next Kips Bay home. Was it different? And what was your inspiration here?
Well, I'll start by saying, typically, most designers say they don't want to follow a trend, but, for me, I really wanted to follow this chartreuse trend that we saw in fashion this year. And, going on a few trips to New York, we just kept seeing it everywhere. And then I had this dream of this room before we even was accepted into the Kips Bay for 25. Had this dream that we were in this chartreuse room and it was kind of bleeding into this white oak paneling. And so when we got this space, I automatically knew I wanted to just jump on this. And so we just kind of enveloped the whole room in the chartreuse. So the ceiling is a Benjamin Moore color called Split Pea, and then we did all of this white oak paneling on the walls, and then had an automotive painter come and spray this ombre. So that it really felt like it was dripping down into this white oak paneling. And then the stripe on the back of the wall, believe it or not, is leather. So we had wallpapered the leather onto the column, the back wall, and then the cabinetry, which was really fun. So it was all about balancing the color. We wanted to show that you could be really bold in color, but still warm and inviting in the same sense. So we had so much
It's,
fun.
oh, I can tell. And I love the backstory on your inspiration, the dream come true.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes it starts with a dream and, I just wanted to run with it. And then obviously seeing it so much in fashion, I just thought, we should just play with this. At the end of the day, we can explore and do some fun things within the Kips Bay Show House. And, we always say Kips Bay is the land of yes. And sometimes we live in the land of no. And so we could really just do what we wanted and what we were thinking at the moment. So.
Sarah, are you playing with green in different ways, or even what's your thought on this space?
Well, I mean, this space is gorgeous. I didn't get a chance to make it to the Kips Bay house this year, but I saw a lot of photos from it. I have to say, without having been in the house, so I don't know the layout of the home, I probably saw more photographs of this room than any other room. And I think it's just exquisite. And I think the play with materiality here is super cool. I would have never known that as leather back there. And in fact, I was going to ask you, is that paint? Like, what is that going on back there? So I love seeing material applications that I don't really expect and are just sort of a surprise. And I think that's what's fun about a show house in general. Like you're saying, it's the land of yes, you can do whatever you want. And maybe someday a client will be like, I want to do that too. And they'll let us actually do it. But as it relates
Yeah.
to green, I mean, she hit the nail on the head. And I always say this is that green is a neutral. That's the way we treat
Hmm.
green in our projects. We've been using green now for the last few years pretty predominantly. It's something that gets asked for a lot. It used to be everyone asked for
Hmm.
blue to the point where I was like, I can't do any more blue. And now
Hmm.
it's green. And I think green is so great because it can read so many different ways and it could go cool, it could go warm. And it is that extension from the outside in, which really became strong after COVID when we really wanted to merge our spaces and have that tactile touch of the outdoors that we weren't really getting to explore being locked in at home. So I love the green again, like wallpaper. I think it's kind of here to stay.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Sarah. I love green. I think that it's always a question now, though, that we ask our clients when we first start, are you a blue person? Are you a green person? And I'm always like hoping they're a green person more so. But yeah, I believe it's a neutral as well. And I think that it pairs with so many different, you can go warm, you can go cool. And it's just always kind of a great base.
And I have to point out in the background behind your space is Cambria's Aveline, which is a Carrara marble inspired design with a subtle green vein. Have you guys seen this design before?
I
I
have.
have.
What are your thoughts? How would you use it?
Oh
I
my
mean, I
gosh.
think, oh, sorry, go
No,
ahead.
you go. No, you go. You go. I
No,
want to hear
no.
you first.
I mean, I think it's always, for me, it's really about the client and capturing their design language. And so I always find it so hard to just, kind of pinpoint how we would use something because I think we're so driven by a user. But I think you could do it in so many different applications, and it doesn't just, have to think about the countertop. It can also be, thinking about a piece of furniture or a nice stone surround. I think that there's so many ways of incorporating different product and thinking outside the box on that.
Yeah, and I totally agree. The first thing that popped in my mind is sort of wrapping an entire bathroom in it, like around the walls. There's something about it that's
Mhm.
like both warm but a little industrial, but in like a, I don't know, in a very complimentary way. And so I could totally see it wrapping in an entire space around the walls and kind of everywhere.
Yeah, I agree,
Perfect.
Sarah.
One,
I love, the more stone that you could use, the better, in my opinion.
I can't wait to see Aveline in some of your projects in the future, which is fabulous. All right, we'll keep moving. Next, let's see what else Robin had to share about emerging shapes in furniture and accessories.
We continue to have great success with our Turner sofa. So that's a very curvy lined sofa and settee. And then our design team for spring played upon the concept of baubles and bubbles. So think of mirrors with little bubble shapes and lighting that looks like bubbles floating in a cloud. We have a lot of exciting pieces that are coming out in that direction. Some beautiful glasswork, hand blown glass with the bubble shape, and then as well as some multi drop chandeliers. So it's almost like art and lighting combined in each other. We also have some wall decor that's coming out with these organic shapes, but all circular, round. Teardrop shaped sconces, and just really playing into that theme of bubbly and bobbly and jewelry, almost jewelry inspired.
So here we can see a few of the shapes Robin's referencing, that beautifully curved Turner sofa and several of their new lighting designs, which all echo that sculptural rounded aesthetic, which we've been talking about both in the edge profiles, the architectural arches in a home. And I would love to hear, do you guys agree with these trends in furniture and accessories and other, fun things that you're loving to do with furniture and accessories?
Yeah, I gotta say this, it kind of plays back to what I was saying earlier, is the architecture of homes has gotten so squared off in a lot of ways. And even in these photos, I mean, it's beautiful, but there's a lot of sharp straight lines. And I think that's why you're seeing so much curvature in the sofas. It's a way to bring balance, or into the furniture pieces and the lighting. It's a way to bring balance and a juxtaposition between that hard architecture with softer lines. Again, bringing that masculinity with femininity and merging those two together. So I'm not surprised that all of these are trends. And it's
Mhm.
definitely something we are seeing a lot of, we're using a lot more of, that I love personally because I like that softness that it brings.
I agree. And I think anything organic is really, something that we're all craving and stuff that definitely has a sculptural like ability. And I like that blurred line between art and function and furniture. And so we 100% agree. We're on board with this trend. And I think that it really just helps to, cozy up a room, give more personality to a space, and almost give that hand-like feel towards a lot of the product that we're putting in. So we love that.
Kind of that craftsmanship that is making it very personal and
Yeah,
special.
I think people are really craving just a handmade,
Hmm.
product that celebrates just the craftsmanship behind it. And I think that it adds that layer of personality to a space that we're looking for, and it adds that layer of, softness to the space. And like Sarah said, there is a lot of rectilinear spaces in design when it comes to the architecture. And so how can we kind of, soften that? And so we 100% agree that, that's kind of where we take everything as well. And it's all
And
about textures too.
yeah, and I do think there is an appreciation for an extension of art in this capacity, that the lighting
Hmm.
acting as jewelry, the furniture having those softer lines, it just sort of it expands the art in the space. It doesn't just have to be the stuff hung on the wall, or the sculpture in the corner. It can be also in your
Hmm.
lighting, also in your furniture. It goes much, much further than that.
Agreed.
So we asked Robin one last question. One I'm sure many in our audience can relate to. What's a good first step out of neutral territory, which we've been talking a lot about, even though we're talking bold and architectural and artistic. But let's take a look at what she had to say.
So I think the first start is, what are you personally drawn to? Accessories are a great way to begin to expand into new territory when you're designing. They're smaller, you can move them and change them as you wish. The other suggestion I would have is play with scale. A large mirror can work as an art piece. And then don't be afraid to kind of think outside the box. Just like we were talking about with the curvy silhouettes, a curvy settee or a chair that's in a unique shape and form is a great place to start. We love leaning into green. Again, going back to green as a neutral, it's a great way to start incorporating color without going full red lacquer ceiling like I saw last night. So little hints here and there can make a huge difference. And then the other thing I would suggest is play with lighting. One of the trends that we're seeing is where like a side table, for instance, would traditionally have a table lamp set on it. The trend we're seeing now is to take a multi-drop pendant and hang it from the ceiling, and it becomes a light source, but it's also artwork for the space.
And here we have some of those elements, the large sculptural mirror, the accessories, the lighting that you would hang in different areas. What do you guys have to add that would help your clients kind of move into this zone?
Well, I think one easy way to get out of neutral is to play with pattern. I think it's a very easy way to introduce color, something a little unexpected. It could be as simple as a stripe, but if you play with more patterns, you're going to start to see a bigger depth, a richer space, and you're going to play with more color. You're going to have more artistic value to the space. And I think it's sort of undervalued in a sense, but it's a very easy starting point for getting yourself out of neutral.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think, bringing in things that really resonate with you, it doesn't necessarily have to be on a trend, but if you capture something that you're excited about, you're able to kind of curate that into your space that, really plays with who you are as a person. So, I do think that you can, bring in the accessories, the art, smaller items here and there. And obviously, everyone always says paint, but that can sometimes be a big ordeal. But I do think that, if you bring in something that is 100% something that you gravitate to, you automatically can shift the design of the room quite a bit.
How often do you have a client that brings something to you that is theirs and personal and old, and they want you to design around it?
Oh gosh, I would say rarely these days.
Mm.
It used to be we would get those pieces, but very rarely now is there something where they're holding a lot of sentiment to it. At the most, it's maybe a piece of art, but rarely is it a piece of furniture that it's like we need to design around this, or maybe it's something small, but it never becomes the whole personality of the space.
Mhm.
Hmm. I agree. A lot of times I would say 90% it's art. And then a few times it's a piece that had been handed down to them or that has sentimental value to them. And for us, that's just part of the conversation. I want to understand that. I want to understand, what it means to you and why it means to you and how we can then incorporate it into the mix. But, one thing that we really love is, or I love in particular, is blending traditional with contemporary. It kind of makes you feel like you don't put a timestamp on when you designed that space. And so I feel like it just helps to, I don't know, create your own personality in that regard. So that's something that I truly love.
And I think part of it too is the generation prior was known for collecting and hoarding things and keeping things. And so now there's going to be a huge movement away from that. And there's going to be not necessarily a minimalist movement, but less stuff that retains a lot of sentiment and value for them, but more pieces that they love that are very specific and tailored to them, and less of a collection of things that
Mhm.
they keep and hoard over time.
Yeah. And I will say we're bringing in more antique pieces currently for clients that maybe you can't tell that it's a, very antique piece, but, something that has a bit of that history to it, that just adds to the space. One, it's easier to get. And two, it just kind of helps to create personality within the room.
Mhm. It's a way to blend the traditional and the modern
That's
Yeah,
right.
for
I
all
agree.
generations. Oh my gosh. Well, I love it. And these are such great tips. Thank you guys so much. And I want to add one more tip. So, when it comes to choosing a Cambria Quartz service, one of the best first steps is simply to see it in your own space. So, we have this room visualizer on our website, which makes it so easy. It lets you instantly explore how any of today's featured designs or any design in our full palette would look in your home. So, wanted to give it a little advertising here. If you just visit cambriausa.com /visualizer. You can upload your own kitchen and change it out for any Cambria design. So it's such a powerful tool for your lifestyle. All right. Well, we're wrapping it here. This has been so inspiring. What a great conversation, you two. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. This was super fun.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Of
Thank you.
course. And I'm sure our audience enjoyed hearing all these thoughtful perspectives on where design is headed and how creativity continues to evolve. It was fun to even talk about generationally what's changing. So, a heartfelt thank you. And thanks to everyone who joined us, along with Vern, Lauren, and Robin, who shared with us their vision and insights, which was meaty. And thank you to everyone who joined this Cambria Style design event. If you're looking for even more inspiration, please explore our Cambria Style magazine. And we have a blog as well at cambriausa.com /style. And we have everybody's Instagram and all of our social tags here. So follow along Cambria Surfaces and our wonderful guests. They have great content to continue to inspire you in your design journey. And if you want, you can watch this again. We're going to email you a link and you can share this or go to our YouTube channel and watch it again. But thank you all for being here and cheers to creativity and craftsmanship and design that truly reflects how we live.